Hello, everybody, and welcome to askLRR for April 2021. And I'm Paul, and I am here with Kathleen.
Hello.
And Ben Wheeler.
Ahoy.
Who is a ship captain.
Usually.
And we're going to be answering questions that were given to us from the YouTube memberships. Every month we have people submit questions through the YouTube membership system, and we select some of the ones that we liked, and we are going to answer those. So let's get down to this, starting with day 4, asking, what's the most annoying attempt someone has made at making an April Fool's out of you that you can currently remember? So, I mean, to be honest, I feel like I have been. It's very seldom for me that I've been like actively fooled upon, I guess. Like, there's April Fool's things that like happen, that companies do and stuff, that have fooled me, but they haven't been like directed at me, I guess, by people. The only one... Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like working sort of at LoadingReadyRun means that, you know, there is always the low background threat of being fooled upon, and therefore it is not confined to one day.
Because if you do it on the day, they're expecting it, right?
Exactly.
Whereas if you sometimes you just walk into the office and there's like, you know, a scary face taped to the toilet or something.
Yes, exactly.
By scary face, I mean a black and white printout of Beach's face with the eyes cut out.
Oh.
That was on the toilet for like a really long time.
It kept getting like progressively more and more defaced, and eventually, you know, when it got too bad, I took it down. I was like, this is starting to get mean to Beige, and I'm ending this joke. We are done now. Goodbye.
So I was thinking about, you know, April Fool's jokes that I have had, and the one that I can remember most distinctly is from when I was like really, really young. And my parents used to do things every once in a while, and the best one that they ended up doing was, this is when I was a kid in BC. There was a teacher's strike in BC, and so this was like in the probably early 90s, and so we were off so the kids weren't in school for like a week or two because of this teacher's strike. And so for April Fool's, and April happened to take place during the spring break, or April 1st. It took place during spring break. And so, you know, we were on spring break, and we're like, great. And my parents wake me and my brother up like super, like at like 8 o'clock in the morning when we're sleeping in. And they're like, hey, you got to go to school. Because of the teacher's strike, they had to make, because you have to make up the time that you lost. There you go. We're like, oh man. And so, you know, we got up and we're like, me and my brother are like half asleep, going, having to like have breakfast and all this stuff. And I think my brother caught them. Their plan was to like do all the stuff, and then on like our lunch boxes have like April Fools taped to the front of the lunchbox right as we were about to go out the door. And I think my brother caught up on it, like saw the calendar and was like, wait a minute. So I think we caught them before they actually like did the entire plan, but it was well implemented. It was semi-plausible.
How did you and your brother react to this? I'm curious to know.
That they did it, like, once we found out.
Yeah.
I think it was like annoyance, and then also like extreme relief. Like the annoyance was tempered by the It's actually still a holiday. Oh, thank goodness.
Did you go back to bed?
Probably. This is, like I said, this was like early night. This is like a long time ago, but
I think that I just don't trust anything or anyone. So I always just assume that everything is someone trying to scam me.
the legacy of April Fools.
It maybe just for a brief moment, and then it's gone, like before I can even recognize it. But there's always that one hesitation, and it's probably because of this is like some weird meta fool, where in my elementary school, like from kindergarten to like grade, I was at the school from kindergarten to like grade 5 or something, and they told every kid that April Fools, like as a holiday, only existed until noon. Like very much in like they can't just say like, oh, April Fools doesn't mean a thing, right? Like they want kids to have some fun. But I think obviously as a way to try and like temper the shenanigans that elementary schoolers will do, because their idea of April Fools is like throwing wet toilet paper at things or whatever.
I feel like I heard that somewhere as well. That like
That's what I was told in school as well. That you had to do all your pranking before noon. As soon as lunchtime started, it was no more pranks.
But see, when I heard that, that was also at the time in which, we were learning about other holidays and learning that there are indeed certain holidays that hold a significance with a time of day, right? Not to say it's a 1-to-1, but, Remembrance Day at 11 a.m. sort of thing. Like that was always the time that the assembly was and everything. And so I went through life assuming that April Fool's Day was just this, like there was a worldwide acceptance that it only went until noon local time. And I believed that until I was about 18 or so. Or like, that's what it was cataloged as, and there was nobody to tell me otherwise, because why would you ever need to tell someone otherwise?
So does that mean that you let your guard down? Like afternoon?
Yeah, 12:01 p.m. Are you gullible as heck?
Well, maybe back then, sure. I must have got like some kid must have been like, did you know that my parents are actually just 2 like chimpanzees that have escaped from the zoo? And I check my watch and it's 1 p.m. and I go, well, okay, hey, that sounds like a rough upbringing. Like it's like it's just always in my mind though on April Fools. It messes with me to this day.
I was just looking. I just did a quick Google search, and that is definitely like there's an article on the CBC that went up this year. Oh no, wait, not this year. That went up on April 1st a few years ago, being like apparently it is different schools of thought, shall we say. I feel like one school of thought is people who are sick of being pranked late in the day.
Yeah, after a long day of work.
I mean,
I don't want to find out that my favorite TV show is canceled and replaced with, I don't know, puppets instead of the actors. Because I might believe it.
Like having a designated time in which fooling should happen is such a I guess it's like a Victorian. Like it's like yes, the shenanigans happen at this time on this one day of the year.
Yes, here's the 3 hours you are permitted to have fun. Now back to the grist.
It's very Canadian culture. It feels, honestly, if you told me that was just a Victoria thing, I would have believed you. Entirely.
All right. Did you have a April Fool's thing, Kathleen? Or
no, I'm super gullible. You can fool me any time of the year.
All right. Well, Thomas Putney asks, from what would you construct your throne? I feel like this is like reference to like Game of Thrones throne,
Yeah.
which is a bad idea. Swords is not a good material for.
No.
And they talk about it actually in the books and in the show that like it's an incredibly uncomfortable throne.
Yeah.
But it's about sending a message, and it's like, look
Right.
at all these people I've subjugated. I have ruined their very fancy weapons, and there's a lot of them.
And I had a dragon to burn it to melt them.
Yeah. I feel like so whatever you pick, it has to be like symbolic of the eminence of your domain, right? So what do you sit upon on that has, what have you built yourself up with? My thought was I would like a throne made out of deeds. It's traditional like king, but like, or queen or monarch, just owning a lot of property, there you go.
So it'd be just like stacks of paper.
Yeah, sheafs of paper. But maybe we do some Mod Podge, so like the edges of some of them curled around.
What?
Probably not the actual legal deeds though, because I think that might.
If they actually get one, it's like could you lift your butt cheek? We have to read.
Yeah. Okay, and it's like a nightmare. How do you file them like that? So actually, how about a paper mache replica of all the deeds I own? Because I'm some sort of fictional queen with a vast expanse of land.
Nice. That could be made pretty comfortable too.
Oh yeah, you get a cushion in there and everything. Newsprint fabric.
Oh. From our eminence?
Yeah.
Gosh, okay. Well, maybe the skulls of my enemies.
That's
or
a popular option.
Or yeah, that's why I'm hesitating. I don't want to be just another.
It'd be very bumpy. The skulls of your enemies.
Yeah,
like, it would be like one of those massage chairs, with all the like bumps on it.
Ooh, that's the spin. It's the vibrating skulls of my enemies, and heated too.
Yeah.
Oh
please.
yeah. Set the whole thing on lacquer, so it's like a solid chair, but you can see the skulls, right?
There you go.
The skeletons of those I've defeated, but it's in the shape of like a recliner chair. But also as a joke, it looks like there's a toilet. But I never use it because that's gross. It's just kind of a prank where I get up off the throne and people see it and they're like, what the hell is that?
So
I go, oh.
So it's like a lazy boy? It's got like
skeletal lazy boy fake toilet and mini fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people are like, so who's the guy in the chair? And be like, don't worry about it.
I would. Yeah, it's okay.
I got this at a garage sale.
Yeah. Somebody's like absolutely grossed out by just the thought of a piece of furniture made entirely out of the bones of people. And then I go, oh, don't worry. It's not real. I would never poop on that. And then they go, oh, just kidding. Hey, I'm Ben. How you doing? That's King Ben, though, I guess. Yeah.
But seriously, I am the king.
Yeah, but seriously, I'm a king, but also just it's so insufferable that somebody's going to try and overthrow my monarchy.
All right, Paul, tell us about your throne.
So I mean, I got stuck. I'm kind of stuck on the like throne of swords just being so uncomfortable, and then that if you're the king, like I feel like I need a throne of like, I don't know, you want a throne of like whatever, like pillows or something nice, and maybe have it. Ooh, how about have like a throne that's like upholstered and comfortable, but it's like, there's this, it's like a tapestry. There's like a whole like scene like all over the throne of all your amazing victories as you have become king.
Let me pitch you on something, Paul. So, in the 1970s, they had the sunken living rooms, and it would be basically just like a huge seating area, and there'd be like cushions everywhere and stuff like that you could really sink into. Something like that. And like every different cushion is part of like this huge plush bayou tapestry. So it's not so much a throne as it is just a seating area.
And you're just like, and people, come for like an audience or whatever. You're just like, hey, grab yourself a pillow, sit down. Let's chillax.
Unironically goals, though. That sounds extremely cool.
A big sunken living room that you can just like lounge in.
Yeah, I'm really into that that idea. But also just all the pillows are tapestry. They tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, pull up a pillow. Maybe that one of me smiting a dragon.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also like the juxtaposition. If you're like, just chilling out, relaxing, drinking a Mai Tai or whatever, but all the pillows have this like show the like horrible pillaging and everything that you and people are like, oh, thank goodness he's not angry. It's like, yeah, I'm just relaxed.
Yeah, it was about that life, but no, not anymore. I've kind of relaxed.
It's not me
unclenched.
Anymore,
Unclenched my jaw. It's important to know where you came from, of course, but no, I gotta too old for it now.
Yeah. So what did you want to talk to me about?
Yeah.
Yes. A raise? Is that what you wanted to?
Yeah. Well.
All right. Let's move on to Spencer Powell, who's asking about if there be lure tech that covers our setup for this podcast, among other things, from a tech thing. Thank you for saying it's so well done. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I think I've talked about it before, that it's definitely, something that I want to do very much so. The fact that I haven't is, annoying, but it's a combination of, getting the time to sort of work out what would be a good way to present it. And also the problem being that it keeps changing. So as, over the year and a bit that we've been doing this, the whole full remote thing, the technologies that we use have changed quite a lot. We started using Zoom and stuff, and then Google Meet, and we're using this system called OBS Ninja now, which is not related to the program OBS. It's a little confusing that way. And then, so I'm constantly sort of experimenting with new ways of doing things, either finding new things that other people have developed or developing stuff on my own that I want to exist. And so, try to make it exist. So it's sort of difficult where to sort of be like, okay, I'm going to say what our setup is as like a point in time, because then, I put it up there and everyone will be like, oh, that's what the setup is. And then maybe 2 months later, it'll be actually completely different. But that being said, it is definitely something that I want to do. And things have stabilized to a certain extent in the last little while. We seem to have a pretty good system worked out. So yes, I would like to do that. Continue bugging me about it so that I don't forget.
I agree.
Yes, please teach me.
Right.
It's indistinguishable from magic, isn't it? It's just like...
I wish it was more magical sometimes. Magic, works more reliably, I think. Although that's not necessarily the case. I guess if you think about D&D Wild Magic or something.
Yeah, not in the really funny fantasy books.
All right. Mr. Twanzel asks, is there any item in your life that you've taken particular effort in selecting, and why? Why that?
I feel that Ben and I might have similar answers to this question.
Literally everything?
I was going to say, is name one thing I haven't obsessed over getting the perfect version of. Every item of clothing I own, for example.
I read an article a little while ago about how they did. They've confirmed this with studies that basically the more research you do about something, especially like something that you want to buy, the less happy you will be with the thing that you end up buying. Because basically by doing all the research, you learn about all the other possible options that you learn about all the things that you give up by choosing the one that you end up choosing. And so that made me very sad because it was like, oh, it's futile. The more research you do, the less you'll be happy with your result. But the less research you do, you might get the wrong thing.
Well, I find the exact opposite. So like this is how I buy everything. This is like, say I need to buy a new pair of shoes. My goodness, I'm hard on my shoes, and I have high standards for my shoes. But I'm not going to spend like 50 years researching shoes online because you can't even try them on. And that's the actual way you need to buy a pair of shoes. So what I do is I figure out the shoe store in town that has like the best selection of like good high quality shoes, and then I just try on everything that's in my size that I even remotely like, and then that's the best shoe for me based on that I have outsourced the research on what brands of shoes to stock to somebody who knows more than me. And I'm always like, yes, I can definitely say I have given it my college try for these 10 pairs of shoes. It's worked out well for me.
Yeah, it's a good way of doing it.
I will rip apart anything I need to get, and I will categorize and just analyze every little aspect of it, cross that with the pricing, and basically just waste far too much time. Well, I say waste, but spend far too much time figuring out whether or not it's the optimal purchase to make, because I know that with my brain, if I don't do that, it's going to tear at me all day. And in a way, it also just kind of helps with like making sure, like it helps for like budgeting purposes, because it helps alleviate the idea of like, oh, that's a lot of money on a thing. There's always this thing at the back of my head that'll just be like, well, Ben, if you remember the spreadsheet that we made in our mind, I think you'll find that this is likely to last for an additional 8 months as opposed to the other one you had. And, the cost is better because of this, and this. And
it definitely stops impulse purchases.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
impulse purchases I understand that some people make them, but I'm like, anything I've ever bought in impulse, I just regret immediately.
Yeah, I'm very happy that my hyperfixation tends to override my impulse buying from like my ADHD fueled impulse buying of like, I'm really into this, I should get that and that and that. And it's like, no, we need to do the research first. We need to figure out the lore behind this water bottle you're purchasing to know that you're not wasting money. And it's a lot, but yeah, because then once you have the brand, you're good, you're golden, and you get to help other people.
Well, that's the thing. It's nice to have people in your circle that you trust, to give you advice about certain things. In the like as Kathleen was saying, sort of outsourcing the whatever, like if there's something that a bunch of your friends say like is really good, then you can be like, okay, I'll get that. I don't have to do all that research myself. I know that they know what they're talking about, and so I'll go ahead and get that. This microphone that I'm currently talking into is the Shure M7 or whatever, which is one that's there was highly recommended by lots of people, and I didn't do a whole ton of research because I don't really know all this stuff about microphones, but I'm very happy with it. The problem is, of course, there's certain things that I guess I'm supposed to be the the one who knows. And then you have to be like, oh crap, now I have to figure it out myself. And then recommend things to other people.
I think it's important to make that distinction for certain things where people come to me for advice on like cooking ware. I'll be like, I can tell you the brands that like the products that I will use because I have just laid it flat all out and went to the people that really know, right? Like all I can do is relay what I was taught to me to save you some, hours of scouring old dead forums for what the secret best casserole dish is. Like creating a separation of that and yes, I am the magic sleeve, guy. I will tell you what is good for this. Try to balance expectations with that.
We were just recently actually talking about how it's such a shame that the wire cutter is now hidden behind, New York Times paywalls and kind of gone to crap, because they had a great they had that great, like, here's the best X. We're not going to give you like a million different reviews. If you want this thing, this is the one to get. It was a beautiful system, which they still, I guess, have, but it's harder to access now because it's part of the New York Times thing.
Moving on from that bit of a bummer ending. I have something connected, actually, for the next question. Oh, yeah.
Well, is there a book or a TV show that you are reading or watching that you really enjoyed, or movie, I guess? Go ahead.
I do not watch TV or movies, but what I did pay for myself was a subscription to the New York Times.
Oh, well, there you go.
Which I have been thoroughly enjoying. I read a lot about the very northern tip of Manhattan, and how there's like a farmhouse from like 1783 or something like that still standing on Broadway Avenue in Manhattan, and it's now an art museum. So I've been reading a lot about weird things that the New York Times covers. Also, something that you get if you're a New York Times subscriber is you get access to something called Times Machine, which is a very clever name, and it is an even more phenomenal feat of data engineering. It's past issues of the New York Times that have been scanned.
Ooh.
As in, like
all
hundreds and hundreds of millions of pages of newsprint from their archive. So
wow.
I found this because I was reading this other article on architecture, and then they link, because all of their articles link to other things. And they link to a previous article they had run on sort of a similar neighborhood that was in this Times Machine thing. And I was like, this is a newspaper from 1991. And this is like the advertisements and everything. So then I started reading that. And so anyhow, that's exactly the kind of thing I want to be spending my evening doing, which is listening to music and reading the New York Times. So
wow.
A+ to that.
Yeah, I guess my sort of my perception, because I only read New York Times articles like when somebody links me to them or whatever. Mostly sort of current events news, but the more kind of just informational or sort of interest stuff is super cool.
My barrier for interest is very low. Like I find almost anything interesting. So it's like, do you want to read an article about the architecture, like notable architecture of the northern tip of Manhattan? And it's I do.
Yes.
I do want to read that.
Anybody that knows what they're talking about, that then talks about it or writes about it, it doesn't matter what it is.
Exactly.
It's just great. It's like, yeah, I want to figure out like about how they collect wool off of this very specific breed of sheep. Are you kidding me? Please share your knowledge.
There's a couple of like subreddits that are good for that kind of stuff. They sort of collect when, you have that cool phenomenon where just like somebody asks a question about some random, hey, there's this weird sheep. I want to collect, how do I collect the wool off of it? And then it'll be like, this random Redditor was like, oh yes, I've been a wool collector for 50 years. Here's a giant thing about the entire story about it. It's like, oh, this is awesome.
The people that are just like, hey, this is kind of a weird coincidence. I literally wrote the book on this subject, so
this is my time to shine.
Yeah. I don't watch a lot of anything or play a lot of anything. I'm a very boring person. I just soak up as much information as possible. and then spend the rest of it researching products I'll buy. God, that makes me sound really awful. But when I'm not doing that, for the longest time, I was not playing video games. I don't really play video games that often. I literally only started doing it again last Christmas, when I played Dark Souls for the first time after it being memed into my skull for the past 8 years. And now I have completed Dark Souls 3 on 5 different characters, full bosses, some of them in like the new game plus. I am absolutely captivated and in love with it. And I guess I'm just a glutton for punishment in those games. Like, it's not a very... If someone says, hey, I don't play video games, or I haven't for like 16 years, what should I play? I wouldn't recommend Dark Souls of any sort. But that's what I did. And it's captivating. It's such a great... I kind of compared it to like a good way of moderating or like having it resonate to like chronic pain issues or certain other recurring pain issues, where it's like you are in control of your own misery for like 1 second, and that feels great because it shows that you can conquer that, and then it's not done. You keep going, but for a second you're like, oh, I can do this, and it's just very cathartic. And I could talk about it for hours.
It's fascinating. As somebody who I haven't really played the games a lot, but I know obviously a lot of people who have played them and are super into it. And it's fascinating to see because, from the outside or from an observer's point of view, it looks Dark Souls and those kinds of games look, like a fairly, standard kind of hack and slash type thing, in terms of the presentation. But there's this aspect where just the control and the craft of it is so well done that it kind of it seems to just kind of catch people's imagination.
Yeah. And I think the fact that it has that certain charm of like 1970s, 1980s, like D&D or Berserk or Gwyn Saga, where it's like, oh no, it's the big bad, the Bone Wizard, or like it's the Crystal Demon. And it's just like, okay, you just took an adjective and slapped it on the front of this vague fantasy trope. And I'm very much here for it. Yeah. Checks all the boxes.
Nice. I was thinking about actually a TV show that I've just actually been watching. I watched like yesterday one of the episodes. It's been on Amazon Prime. It's a cartoon called Invincible. It's based on a comic book, but it's a superhero. He's a superhero who's called Invincible, and it's a adult comic book in the sense that, or adult cartoon in the sense that it's quite violent in places. They don't pull their punches about when the super strong superhero doesn't pull his punches. But it's kind of got an interesting perspective on this sort of, it's this world where there are superheroes and supervillains, but like, even though there's all this ridiculous power and stuff, it's a lot more like, what would this actually mean? Like, how would this work? There's, the main character's basically his dad is essentially Superman. And so it's like, what is it like to be the son of Superman? And how does, the world treat this guy who is effectively a god? They're a little concerned about what he does, as you might imagine. They like to keep a close eye on him, which bugs them. Different stuff like that. It's interesting. I recommend it, but yes, it is quite violent. So just to keep that in mind.
Keep it in mind.
It's a cartoon, but not a kid's cartoon.
Watch it with Penelope. Check.
All right. Now, Thomas Hederman has some questions for individual people. So, Kathleen, who is your favorite and least favorite character from the Persona series?
All right. So my least favorite character from the Persona series is definitely Junpei, who's supposed to be your best friend from Persona 3. But I only ever played through Persona 3 as a girl, which was like on the remaster. And then Junpei is like way crappy to you. And I was like, F this guy. He sucks. I hate him. And I don't have like super fond memories of Persona 3. They're kind of fuzzy.
Is it different? Does he act differently in the
Apparently he acts differently.
Oh, that's weird.
But I didn't like the game enough to play as a boy, right? And find out what he did differently. And my favorite character from the Persona series is Kanji from Persona 4.
Very good, very good, very good pick.
He's so good. All of the Persona 4 characters are better than the Persona 5 characters. I'm sorry.
No, hard agree.
I feel like that was one of those moments where Ben was looking over there, is like, can we still be friends? Can we still be friends? And then he's like, okay, good, we can be friends.
I have like minimal to no investment in the Persona series except for part 4 and mostly for Kanji. So it was, yeah.
All right. The Thomas Hederman asks me, what is your favorite and least favorite old school adventure game character? I mean, of course, I have to, I played a lot of the Space Quest games. I went through all of them in the Paul Quest series that I did, and I have a great affection for Roger Wilco, intergalactic janitor, especially in the earlier editions of the games. Obviously, as the games went on and the games themselves became crappy, the writing became worse. So he kind of changes to some extent. But the sort of put upon hero he's despite the fact that he saves the galaxy over and over again, something always happens to make it so that he ends up being a janitor again. And the obviously Guybrush Threepwood, the hero of the Monkey Island games, he's highly entertaining. And again, I mean, I guess the formula for a good adventure game is kind of a sad sack protagonist. Nobody wants, for some reason, in adventure games, you don't want to play like really competent people. It's no fun.
Well, having somebody be competent really shuts down the writing directions for how ridiculous, smart people don't get themselves into ridiculous and precarious situations usually, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely shuts down a lot of the humor potential. I'm just trying to think if there's any like sort of like non-main characters. I always had because it was basically one of the first adventure games that I played and remembered a lot. Arnold the Annihilator, who's one of the main villains from Space Quest 3, who's essentially a android version of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who and crossed with sort of a Terminator, but also definitely actually just Arnold Schwarzenegger, who he chases you in various places, is quite that whole sort of section of the game is lots of fun. But yeah, I think I'd probably go for those. No, either of you gotten big into adventure games?
Space Quest is one of those. It's by Sierra, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
you can tell the difference. If it's a LucasArts adventure game, you can't really die. Like, you can get stuck, but you can't die.
Definitely.
Sierra Adventure games will kill you for no reason.
Repeatedly and without warning.
Yeah.
Okay.
My favorite example of that is Space Quest 1, the first Space Quest. You walk to, there's this area, and there's a hole in the wall, and you click and look at the hole, and it says, there's a hole in this wall. I wonder what's inside. And you use, like, hand on hole. You stick your hand in the hole, and the scorpion's in there, and it stings you, and you die.
Got it.
The game, like, it actively encourages you to look in the hole, and it kills you for it.
That's the first video game I ever beat.
Nice.
Took me a very long time.
I played Maniac Mansion and Day of the Tentacle, the, like, sequel. But I think those were LucasArts, right?
Yeah, they were LucasArts. Day of the Tentacle in particular is great.
Yeah, Day of the Tentacle, I remember that being very, like, my friend had it on his computer before my house got a computer, and it was mind-blowing. Because I didn't have one, I didn't play a lot of these games until our house got one. But I played at his house, and it was just such like a jump. It felt like going from photographs to that movie with the train that comes right at the screen. It's like, how? And then looking back on it, it's kind of just like, oh, I mean,
there's
nice. But.
There's actually a recent remaster of Day of the Tentacle that's really good.
Oh,
very nice. Of course, speaking of Manny Calavera, the hero of Grim Fandango, also awesome. And also the same thing of like sort of getting better and better and better, and also failing at things. That's sort of, I don't know, kind of a recurring theme. Ben, given your time with Runeterra, which champ is your favorite and least favorite? This is still from Thomas Hederman.
My favorite is Trundle. And it's consistently been Trundle since I've played it. Are either of you two familiar with who Trundle is?
No.
He's the Troll King.
Ooh.
And he's a giant, burly, like mountainy ice troll.
What's his throne made out of? What's his throne?
The bones of an empty 6-piece bucket of chicken. He's not silly. But he's like funny just by nature of being completely oblivious to some of the things he's saying. He's very like a boastful. I mean, he's the Troll King. He's very much a like, this is my mountain. You know, he says it's time to troll. And just it's so ingrained in his thing, and it's one of those things where when you say it, it sounds like, oh, cool. Is there like a oh really Owl King sort of thing? Like it's very much old internet kind of stuff, but in application, it just feels like he feels very sincere because he is the Troll King.
He was a troll before it was cool to be a troll.
Yeah. He got retconned from like a swamp grimy troll to like the snow troll, but he still has a bunch of personality, and in the game he's just very fun. Like he comes down, he makes a giant pillar of ice, and then he levels up. In the game, they level up and become much stronger versions of themselves when you play that pillar of ice. So it's almost like he's like, you play me, here's big ice, use big ice. And you use the big ice, and he goes, I knew you were going to use the big ice. Okay. All right, let's bash some skulls. And he's just very endearing. And then,
nice to meet you.
Yeah, I maybe that pun's reserved for a different. I mean, that's a Mr. Freeze classic, I believe.
Yes.
But and my least favorite is Garen. He's just really boring. Like he's boring in all application, but he's not even endearing boring to me.
I could kind of tell he was boring just from the name.
Yeah, like
Garen,
I think
is just the name of a boring guy.
He's definitely set up as that. It's weird. Like they've gone through like all the years he's existed, and it's been forever, right? They've gone through trying to be like, okay, he's just this boring, really straightforward knight. And then now he's this knight that people make fun of behind his back, and he doesn't understand it. And then they tried to make him edgy, kind of, and cool, and like, oh, he's on the front lines fighting. And then they're like, okay, never mind. And now he's settled in this, people make fun of him, and he knows he doesn't entirely understand, but also just plays it off as like, you just haven't done your best kind of thing. And you're just like, oh, shut up, dude. Like, it's just... why would I ever want that when I could get this like troll king party animal that's like, hey, do you want to go over to the giant ice pillar I made? It's like, yeah.
He's like the John Cena over in Terra. I'm looking at his picture.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I would like to apologize to anybody listening named Garen. I'm sure you're cool people and not at all boring. This is just specifically hero and video game.
Yeah. In the world of like Nocturne and like Twisted Fate and Aurelian Soul, Garen, brother of Kevin, right? It's just very like, okay.
All right, we've got one final question here. Back to Mr. Twenzel, who says, what kind of sushi would you assign to your fellow hosts?
Does anybody have any dietary restrictions?
I guess. Yeah. Wait, is this what kind of sushi would you feed to your hosts, or like?
No, what kind of sushi are they? They're sushi horoscope.
They're sushi horoscope.
It probably won't come up as an issue because it is sushi, but I am on a seafood diet, as in I see the food. And I eat it to escape the brutal reality of the world.
Are you allergic to anything? Or is there anything you dislike?
No.
Okay. And you eat meat. Or at least
I will eat meat, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. And Paul, I know you. I feel like, but what have I... Now, I've got to think back to the past when we could go to restaurants. And we could go to Sushi Plus and get cheap sushi.
R.I.P.
I know. I'm so sad.
God, I'm so...
And what did you order? Paul?
Well,
I don't remember.
I mean, like, I don't know if this question is necessarily like what you would for real order and like to eat. More like what is like evocative
of you.
I don't know. Like Ben, I was thinking like some sort of like, I don't know, like I remember I went to a sushi place one time with a guy who was like quite experienced, and he ordered a bunch of cool stuff, including there was this roll that it was like a roll with some delicious stuff inside, and then actually like slices, very thinly sliced like beef on the outside of the roll as like some kind of like super amazing concoction roll. I would put for you, I think, some sort of roll that you'd be like, what, you can put that into a roll? Great, let's do it. That sounds awesome.
Let's see. Paul, I think I would make you a dynamite roll because they are delicious. They are popular. The pink, the tempura around the prawn could maybe be a similar color to your hair, perhaps. I don't know. It might make me think a little bit of you.
The tempura is this color. Could be bad.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. Brown surrounded by pink. That's all white people at a distance, right?
Basically.
Yeah, I don't know. A little bit complicated, a little bit like fancy, but still a beloved and popular choice that everyone's really pleased to get and eat.
I mean, I do like dynamite rolls. So
my call for Paul was going to be like a tamago, like an egg, like a sweetened egg as the protein, but like spice it up like a tamagoyaki, like have some like shredded daikon in there, maybe you throw in some roe, like something that is, it's just all your problems are going to disappear when you have it. You know, you might have difficulties articulating exactly what's going on, but you're just like, oh my God, this is everything I've ever needed. And you won't shut up about how good it is. Like, you're going to be like, it's not doing it justice. You got to just have it. And you're like, oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Good. Cool. Yeah. That's my read.
I like it. Actually, speaking of tamago, I was thinking about for Kathleen. I was thinking about one time we were at a sushi place, and we were talking to Ian, who's a man who's well versed in different sushis and things, saying like, what's the best sushi to get to see if you're at a good sushi place. And tamago, he's saying, is one of the things, because like a bad sushi place, there's like instant stuff that you can get that sort of is kind of tamago, that's like close. And he's saying if you get that, then like he's saying like a really, you know, it's a simple roll, but it's like a really well made tamago roll illustrates that the chef really knows what they're talking about, and that they're going to be making, you know, great rolls for everything else. So
that's so clever.
So I was that's what I was thinking for you, Kathleen.
Oh, thank you. Wheeler, I think that you would be a negitori roll.
Oh, good call.
Like, it's just like, it's simple and classic, but it's super tasty, and it's like, you know, something that's elevated by the sum of its parts.
Thank you. I associate myself quite a lot with higher quality fatty tuna. Unironically, I want to clarify. That's yes.
I was thinking the shirt, even the shirt you're wearing right now, it's like you've got some sort of like caviar and salmon roe thing going on.
Yeah.
Fitting, because I literally chose I picked a shirt at random from my closet to throw on that didn't have any sweat drenched into it yet. And so if this is what I pull from random, I guess, yeah, that's, thank you. Yes. Kathleen, I had you as, I think, let me clarify before I embarrass myself. Do you eat meat, correct?
Yep, I do.
Okay. I would, my gut feeling was a type of unagi roll.
Oh.
With like a barbecued eel roll
yum.
with some cucumber. Maybe pickled cucumber.
Oh.
But like with some furikake on top as well. So like you would have you might have to explain it to certain people that aren't familiar with every little thing, but I think that it's the kind of thing that people will get drawn to the like intricacies behind it, and then just wind up in a 2-hour conversation about the appropriate furikake for that. Yeah.
I dig it.
But still approachable.
But considered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe that's the best one. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Deliberate with its execution. Yeah.
It's everything I've ever wanted to be.
I've always dreamed of being a barbecue eel.
If we're talking horoscope, like my horoscope is Cancer, so I'd probably be something like stuffed with artificial crab.
As a Scorpio, and Scorpions are they're widely called the Negitoro of the American Southwest.
I've heard that.
Yeah. You read my blog. Oh, thank you.
Huh.
All right. Well, that does it for this episode of askLRR. Thank you so very much for all your questions. And thanks to the members of our YouTube channel who asked them. Thanks to everybody else who watched this and everyone who supports us wherever you do, whether on YouTube or through Patreon or through Twitch subscriptions or all that wonderful stuff. I have been Paul, and I'm here with Kathleen and with Ben Wheeler.
Bye-bye.
And we'll talk to all y'all later. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.